Well, hello, family and friends. It is MG, and you are just in time for a new episode of the Reimagined You Lab podcast. So, I want to thank you first for tuning in. You know, I always get excited anytime we have a new guest inside of the lab, and tonight is no exception. We've got a powerhouse in with us tonight. We've got an amazing young woman that has joined me today. And you guys, I just can't even wait to introduce her. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Just click the little bell down below. It will notify you every Friday. We drop a new episode, and there's always something to learn because people have made changes, and change is only a choice. And so, with that, make sure if you get something out of tonight's show, please share it with your friend, a family member, your neighbor, a cousin, colleague, whoever. There's going to be something that you're going to gain. So, with that, sit back, grab you a cup of tea, some ice water. We are ready to dive in. So, with that, Miss Lynette, how are you doing tonight?
I am wonderful tonight. Doing fine and glad to be here.
I am so glad that you are here too. Now, you know this is where we go inside of the show every week. It is the Beyond the Bio. You've got to tell people who you are, where you're at, what you do, and how you do it. This is your moment, my lady.
Okay. Well, again, I am Linette Davis. And what was the second? What I do?
Where
Who I
you're at.
am
Tell them
is
where you're
Linette
at.
Davis. And I am a person that is navigating life, and I'm retired. So I'm finally at my big old age having an opportunity to meet me and to love me
Yeah.
and put me first, as I've done with others most of my life. And the things that I like to do is learn. That's my thing right now, is learning new things, uh,
Yes.
new perspectives on things,
Mhm.
and recognizing that the way things were when I was a younger have
Mhm.
definitely changed. I enjoy art. I enjoy writing. I'm a person that's usually all over the place because I could be on one project and turn around and look at something, and before you know it, I'm working on something else. But that's just how my mind works, and that's what
There's
I
a lot
do.
of people like that. There's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that. But you know
Yeah,
what? It's okay. It's okay. So
yeah.
in the lab, we test things, we try things, we put some stuff together, we make hypotheses about a thing, and then we
Hmm.
test it and see how that works, right? That's what a
Hmm.
lot of people that come into the show do. And so one of the things that you have tested and are trying and are doing, which I'm excited about, is you've written a new book.
I have, and yeah, and I wouldn't call it new, but I started writing when my grandkids were young, and specifically my middle child's youngest, Gianna. We would
Uh-huh.
go to St. Louis and we would spend time, and we'd end up in the bedroom just telling stories off the cuff, and just laughing, just having a good time. And so I started, when I would get home, I would write them down.
Yeah.
So I've got several of those situations where I have done that, came home, written it down. So I have all these documents and these stories that have been sitting for years.
Yeah.
And when I retired, I wanted to try to publish, especially knowing Michelle and
Yeah.
Brian, and knowing that she was a publisher. I thought I'd try one. So I I asked my oldest to choose one, and so she did, and that's the one that we started with. So there's several in tow, so to speak. And also I was going through papers just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and
Really?
found like three half written stories
Oh my
that
goodness.
now I have to finish because I found them. Because I don't know how long they've been sitting, but they have, and they haven't been completed. And so that'll be something that now I'm looking forward to doing.
Yeah.
And
You know what? We are living in a time right now where creators are all the rage, right? Like creators are they're the thing right now. So Lynette, how long have you been a creator? Like you've been doing this, I would imagine, since forever.
Yes, I think, yeah. When I was a teenager, I used to try creating. Um, I would get myself into situations sometimes where I was struggling and I would go to, I've done chocolates, roses, and things like that. I've made up gifts and I was always doing something. I was always trying to create something. Some things went very well and lasted for a while. Some things went over well, but didn't last. And it's just, I like it. So along with the writing, I do resin molds and try different things like that, make dominoes. And I just like creating. I feel like my calling was to create.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's so important. As because when you so we're both Christian women, right? So we can talk about that. We talk about this here. Like this is reimagine you, right? We can reimagine who we are. We can create who we are. But
Hmm.
God made us to be creative. You know, he created us in the likeness of himself, right? God created us male and female. He created them
Hmm.
and he made us in the image of God. And God himself was a creator, the
Yes.
creator, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so he made the earth out of nothing. He said it, let there be light, boom, and it was.
Yeah. And that's the way I like to refer
Mhm.
to God, the higher power, is as the creator.
He
And then as
is.
women, and well, of course, men too, but we create, we bring forth life.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so it's just, I've just always liked to try something. And I've
Mhm.
recognized that some things are my forte and then some things are not. And I have
Absolutely.
gotten to the point where when I am doing so, if it's not my forte, I put it away and said, okay, let's try something different and go to the next thing. But it's fun to me. It's what drives me most of
Mhm.
all. It kind of
Mhm.
brings me peace.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you have been a creator since forever. You've always been a creator.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes, in that space, and you've shared here that you have tried lots of different things. But it was this particular thing, what would you say was the biggest change you've ever made? Because I think sometimes there is a big change that pushes you in a direction that, really kind of propels one forward and says, you know what, hey, I am going to move this way. I'm going to follow this path and I'm going to move forward in this. And so, share with us like maybe the biggest change you've ever made that had the greatest impact. Because I think those are, because, here we always like to talk about those things that really kind of push us to move the needle in our lives, because I think those are the things that help people move the needle in their lives as well. And we
Hmm.
want to help somebody today.
I think the biggest change for me is not something that's tangible, but
Hmm.
believing in me and wanting to know who I am, because
Yeah.
I've grown up and you're given everything that you're supposed to know and believe, how you're supposed to walk and do things. And I've always been a person that serves, but I recognized that I was serving everybody but myself. Now, not that
Mhm.
I have stopped serving. Like if that family member has a need, my grandchildren, my children, definitely. But I was leaving me out. So when I recognized
Mhm.
that I was leaving me out, I really didn't even know how to include myself.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of reading and listening to podcasts and things such as yours and whatever
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, start including you. And so I did. And when I would walk into, for instance, a store, and the first thing I'd see is something that I could purchase for a grandkid, I would say, stop. Their parents have their back and they're getting them everything they need. You don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need, Lynette?
Yeah.
Okay. And there were things that I need. And so it just gave me, uh, it just
Permission.
springboarded me into saying, okay, they've got the grandkids, the kids got themselves. What do you need? Oh, you've been needing XYZ for a long time. Why don't you do that, you know, for yourself? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's how I got to going, really, is just identifying that I have not loved myself for quite a long time, and that now is the time for me to do that, because I don't know that I was really loving people the way I could
Mm-hmm.
very well if I wasn't loving me, because it should start here. It should start with me.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that because sometimes we don't always give ourselves permission to love ourselves. Self care is just as important as caring for everybody else. Self
It is.
care is not selfish.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Self care
not.
is
I
not
always
selfish.
felt that it was, though, and so that kind of kept me hesitant from doing things for me, because I always felt like, well, that's being selfish, because this one over here needs that and this one over here needs that. But I wasn't giving
Yeah.
them credit for that they could take care of themselves either. So I have to and believe it in me. That was
Mm-hmm.
good. That was perfect. But I also have to
Mm-hmm.
believe that everybody else has their best interests at heart, and
Yeah.
they're going to do what they need to do, especially mine. Again, my girls have driven me to do things that I didn't believe that I could, and that was
Mm-hmm.
how the book came about, because they've been sitting, like I said, for years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's from them. It's a, why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you? But something in me had to say, okay, I know I can do this, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try this.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. You know what? It is, we always think about and we use it all the time. How we use the analogy of, on the airplane, it says, hey, the stewardess comes on and says, put on your own mask first,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
before you help somebody else
good
on the
analogy.
airplane,
Yes.
right? We hear
Yeah.
that all the time. We use it all the time. But in
Mhm.
reality, we don't necessarily use it.
Truth.
But it's so true that we do need to take care of ourselves. We hear we can't pour from an empty cup, we can't and we're better. Even the Bible says to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But most of the time we give all the love away to everybody else without, and a lot of times it's not until we're almost empty before we
Mhm.
really figure out that, what, hey, we do need to give some love back to ourselves. So I'm so glad that the girls talked to you and said, Mom, do something for you, take care of you, do this for you. And so you were bold and you said, you know what, hey, I'm gonna try this. All right,
Mhm.
so here you are. You said, all right, I'm gonna pull back into Lynette. I'm going to
Yeah.
do something that you've been this creator since all time, all
Mhm.
along. God created you that way. You've been pouring into it and doing it. And you took this chance. So tell us a little bit about this book and this particular story. How did you come up with it? Tell them a little bit about it. Now I'm gonna encourage you guys. You guys want to get the book. This is such a good story. It's so cute. It's so inspirational. So tell them a little bit about the book without giving it all away, because we want to make sure that, and in the show notes you're going to be able to have the website and everything, so you can go and get you a copy. But Lynette, tell them how'd you come up with the story? Where did it come from?
I'm telling you, it just came off. the cuff. It's like, I think I start telling a story. So it's like I pick a subject matter, and
Mhm.
then my mind will go back to childhood incidences, things that I have seen or
Mhm.
heard. And I just started writing about it.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's how it came about. And I've always been a person who, um, I want to stand up for people that are teased.
Mhm.
And of course, in this book, this young boy was being teased because of a difference that he had. And I've seen that. I've watched that when I was younger and too young to speak up for
Mhm.
those those kids or those type of
Yeah.
people, while other people were berating and, calling names and bullying. And so it kind of came from that.
Yeah.
Situations from growing up, going to school, and seeing how people can be treated at times, and just a way to put a twist on it. Okay, that you can overcome what people
Yeah.
call you or what people think and say about you.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I said that wrong. Like, dude, like tell people about the story, because I think there's probably some people that'll be listening in that can identify with Tony and what Tony had. Because sometimes there are people that have that are born with birth defects,
Hmm.
and and so, and it's not anything that they could help,
Right.
right? Like it's not
Yeah.
something that he could help. He was born that way.
Yeah.
And I think that, like there are people that are living that same exact situation and have dealt with that exact, some of those exact bullies inside of school that have you know lived through that same experience. I mean,
Yeah.
and would completely identify with Tony. So share
Yeah.
share share the story,
So
because I think.
so Tony was born
Mhm.
to parents and was healthy, beautiful little boy, but he was missing a finger. And
Mhm.
so he had parents that kind of helped him, that not kind of, but did help him through,
Mhm.
um, believing in himself, knowing that he could do anything that he wanted to do, regardless of the fact that he was missing a finger. And
Mhm.
he had, in the book, he had adult support through being in school,
Mhm.
um, that helped guide him through it. And without going too far into it,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
at the end of the book, had a
That's a good.
teacher that had a similar
Mhm. Yeah.
situation that she was
Right.
able to share
Mhm.
with the class, as she had noticed that the class had sided with the bully. I hate to call him a bully because, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Sure.
that's what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
bullying.
Well,
And
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Like we won't share the entire story,
okay,
but
yeah,
let's just kind of talk about that. So like, and that happens a lot, but
it
that's such
does.
a good story, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
here this kid is, he's born with, and he's missing a finger. Like, there's probably other people and kids that have grown up with that same type of a challenge. And that's such a
mhm,
good story for you to share and talk about. I would imagine that people have had to experience that. If not that specific thing, have dealt with things like that.
yes,
You know,
absolutely.
and such a story to tell, Lynette, like for you to, kind of drill into, you know, that type of the story, the support, and really, picking out something. It wasn't, you know, to have that lens, I think. What kind of took you there and kind of,
I don't know if that I could even verbalize that, but because that's what dropped into me to write about. That kind of was another reason that it didn't get written either, because at the point that this book was just sitting,
mm-hmm,
I thought, oh, what are people going to think? Are they going to think I'm some, uh, I don't know. You just
you're an
don't know what
advocate for
people are
sure.
thinking. I mean, it's reality, but
Mm-hmm,
sometimes things like that aren't taken as reality, that they are seen as there's something wrong with somebody that would write something about that. But that's what was given to me. So, and I have another book that some type of situation like that is, and I decided I'm going to go ahead and write it, because if that's what was given to me, if that's what dropped in me spiritually to write,
Yeah.
if that was what the Creator dropped in me, that's what I should write. And it wasn't mean, it wasn't weird or anything like that, which were some of the things that I was thinking maybe people would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm growing to the point too where it really don't matter about everything that people think, and that I should go ahead with things and not hold back. And there will always be people that agree or disagree, like or don't like, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And it is okay. You know what? I think that's so important, right? Like, because, you know, whether people agree or disagree, whether they like or don't like that's not your responsibility,
No.
right? Like that, it isn't, because people are always going to have an opinion and they're entitled
Yeah.
to it, but it's not our responsibility to take ownership of what anyone else's opinion is or is not. You know,
Yeah.
it's their opinion, they're entitled to it, and so they can
Yeah.
have it, you know, but
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily impact you know, what you do. And sometimes I think too often we do give our power away and our ability to do and move forward with things, because we have given that power to other people. And so
Yeah,
I'm
that was a
excited.
layer that I had to take off. So just imagine having layers of beliefs and perceptions that were counteractive and counterintuitive to who you really want to be. And you have to
Mhm.
peel those layers back and
You
know
do.
that you're created the way you are, and it's okay. So I walk around saying now, I am who I am, and that's enough.
And
I don't
that's
have to
enough.
have permission from anybody else, or nobody needs to pat the back or any of those things. This is what was given, and this is what I give.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is enough. No, I totally, I love that. I love that. You know what? If you were telling somebody or sharing with somebody, and I'm so glad that we're kind of going down this path. You know, I love the book. I love how Tony prevails. You know, there's always I love stories with happy endings. I love stories with unlikely heroes, because you know, in the book, you know, the supporters, the village, you know, that he gains as
Mhm.
a part of it. And you know what, I encourage the audience, the story of Tony is the name of Lynette's book. I want you guys to get a copy. It's so good. It's a beautiful, colorful book, illustrated by a young lady that you know, that you
Yes,
grew up with.
Kalia Smith, and she's an awesome illustrator. So you'll love the pictures.
Yeah,
So along with reading it, I encourage, when we get it out launch, that you get a
yeah,
copy and
yeah.
admire her work as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful book. Lots of good in it. And you will be encouraged. Share it with others. You can, all of the information so that you can get copies is down below. So make sure that you do that. One of the things, Lynette, that I really liked about the story as you were kind of putting it together and putting it out, was your family was such a big part of this. You know, I absolutely love, you know, I am totally fam girl, you know, like,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know, our family is a part of everything that we do. But your family, there was a picture on the inside of the book, and your family was all, their names was on the chalkboard. Now I
Oh
remember
yeah.
when your name was on the chalkboard, sometimes that meant you was bad, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh
yeah,
my God. But
but that
it
was
was,
so
you're
good.
right. So it was for good, because I mean, we grow up and we have our adverse things that happen, but I grew up with some awesome brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so I wanted them to be mentioned. My oldest sister passed away in like 2014, miss her to this day. But
Yeah.
then then we get, so, some of us get married. I have awesome nieces and nephews. Uh, my children, I mean, they have been such an
Yeah.
encouragement. My grandchildren, they are awesome. And Tylen, my grandson, he's my first grandchild.
Hmm.
He read the book and he looked at me after he got through reading it and he said, I think when they get in high school, meaning Tony and the guy that was the bully, they're going
Hmm.
to become great friends. I was like, oh, I guess I'm having to write another book to tag along
The
with this one.
sequel.
So, because he's given me this, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's been awesome. My family has been awesome. I grew up around a lot of people in the neighborhood we grew up in that I will never forget. And you learn. I look back and maybe I wasn't appreciative of some of the things. My in-laws, you know,
Hmm.
at that time, I wasn't appreciative of a lot of the things that I learned because I didn't view them as lessons at that time. But as you
Hmm.
age and you look back,
Hmm.
then you draw lessons from all of the experiences that you have gone through from I like elementary school to the very day that you're still living
Yeah.
on this earth. And so I continue to learn and to grow. My perceptions are going to change because I might have said, okay, this is the way it should be 10 years ago, and don't believe that anymore. And it's
That's
because
right.
as you learn and grow and your perceptions change, then you change.
Yeah.
Change is
Yeah.
inevitable.
It is. You evolve. Like, yeah, just like you said, what you felt 10 years ago, you might not have the same stance on something that you do right now.
Yeah, so don't ever
Yeah.
say to me, well, you said, I said it then. I don't believe it now. So now I learned this, and this is my new perception. That may
Yeah.
change in
Yeah.
years to come, depending on what I
Exactly.
learn and what I believe.
Yeah.
So I
Hey,
love
our
learning.
prerogatives can change.
Yeah.
They can change. They can absolutely change.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, I absolutely love that. No, it has been I have enjoyed just watching the whole process with you and seeing everything just kind of come to life, and just even watching you, Lynette, like I can tell you, the girls, your family and everything, just like through the whole process has just been phenomenal. And so I am super super excited for you, Tony, the story of nine,
The
the story
story
of
of
Tony.
the story of Tony.
Yes,
Get
yes,
your
yes, yes.
puppy.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so Lynette, like I think one of the things, as we were kind of talking kind of over the process, one of the things that you share with me that I think is great to bring into this conversation too is some of the things, just like you were saying there, that hey, don't hold me to things, from how I felt like maybe years past, like I
Oh,
feel differently about things now.
oh
One
yeah.
of the things that you had shared was, you know sometimes we may have um grown up and thought a certain way about things, and starting and pushing ourselves out there, and hey, like, I'm gonna do this now, like, it's not too late. It
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is not, I can do it, I can do this, like, maybe for somebody else, because sometimes people think that when you're starting things, like, you have to start, when you're very young, or hey, this is the way that people thought about things way back
Yeah.
when and stuff like that. That's not true.
No, it's
You
not.
want to share some of that, because I thought that was so good when we were talking about that as you were getting started.
Yeah. I mean, I've been an embalmer because I decided I wanted to be one. I went to school, I did it, I got licensed. That was that time, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Then, I mean, I've been one that has moved about. I've tried this and I've tried that. But I now feel like until the
Hmm.
day This body is called back. This energy is called back to the creator. I can
Yeah.
change my mind. I can change what I think, what I'm doing, perceptions.
Mhm.
And that's just a journey. To me, that's the journey of life. That's a life's
Yes.
journey. And we should never hold ourselves so tightly to our beliefs, a lot of them. And, we can't do this or we can do that until
Yeah.
we try it. Just if it doesn't work, it's okay. Let it
Yeah.
go. Just let it go and keep it on
Yeah.
moving. Try something different. Let's go. Let's try this.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. I know there are sometimes people do lock themselves into careers,
Hmm.
into positions, into
Hmm.
what people say that they are or have to be. Um, and just you don't have you're nobody is any one thing forever.
No.
You can
But what
evolve.
brings you peace? It's what brings you, your person, peace.
Joy.
And
Hmm.
and yeah, joy, happiness, whatever, what makes you feel good. Now, you have your intuition to tell you what things you should veer from if you listen.
Oh,
Sometimes
absolutely.
I didn't lose. Sometimes I didn't listen. I'm learning to listen. But in that, you never get too old to learn.
Hmm.
You don't,
Hmm.
or to try
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
if it works, it works. And if it doesn't,
It
try
doesn't.
something new.
Agreed. Agreed. Oh, Lynette, I swear, the time just, I never know
I
where it just went.
know it's like it's over, but
I know.
it's been so nice.
I
I'm
know.
I'm glad you pulled me out of my comfort zone to do this. I
That's what I'm
appreciate
supposed to do. That is what I'm supposed to do. But before I let you get out of here, you've got to, I always ask the question, what is the best advice that you would give to change makers? Your three best pieces of advice that you would give to change makers.
I would say try it, and if it works, good. Try it, and if it doesn't, let it go and try something else to change. So change is good. Change can be bad. Change can be indifferent, but it's always going to be change. There is always change. There's always change. But
Absolutely.
yeah, embrace change, but know when to let the thing that's changing that is not good for you, let it go. Because there's forced change to me. That forced
Mhm.
change is the law says you got to do this, the government says you got to do this or that. So I don't really have a
The
decision
choice in
power in it.
it.
But if it's something in my life that I want to change, and I don't know that it'll work, but you never know that it will if you don't try. So change is inevitable. Don't
Yeah,
stop changing or trying to change. That would be what I would say.
I love it. I love it. Linette Davis, thank you. New Arthur, this nine, the story of Tony. Make sure you get your copies. The link is down below. Tune in, reach out to Lynette. Amazing, amazing mother, grandmother, sister, mother-in-law. She's all these things. She's all these things. Amazing, amazing, amazing woman. Thank you so much for being in the lab with us. I so appreciate you, Lynette. I'm
Thank
excited.
you. I appreciate you too, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, you reimaginers, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Reimagine You Lab podcast. You know, every Friday we drop a new episode. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do like, share, comment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until next time, I will see you later.
Bye.